Moments ago, Donald Trump just admitted that he has no strategy whatsoever to end Russia's unjustified invasion of Ukraine. To the Trump supporters who watch my videos and leave troll comments, I actually welcome it. It's fine if you want to consume the information I present, but can you admit that Vladimir Putin is a quite intelligent, clever guy? He trained with the KGB. He has tactics of manipulation. Donald Trump, on the other hand, is visibly and audibly stupid. Even Trump supporters will sometimes admit, yeah, he doesn't speak in the brightest way. With that framework, you can just see that Vladimir Putin is rolling Donald Trump time and time again. They'll literally hop on a phone call, and then right after that phone call, Trump goes back and declares victory to his fan base and lies to Americans. Meanwhile, Putin is launching the largest drone strikes yet against Ukraine because Trump is not using any of his power. So I want to show you the moment that Trump essentially admits he has no strategy, and he's often even deferring to Putin on how to end this war, just hoping that Putin will someday give him this victory of being the peacemaker in chief, or whatever the hell he wants to call it. So make sure you drop a like below. If you want to be there for the Omaha event, just comment Omaha. It's in Omaha, Nebraska on August 23rd. If you comment Omaha, I'll give you the link. And let's start here. Before we dig into Trump admitting this in the Oval Office, right before this, Scott Bessent went on Morning Joe to talk about the tariffs. I'm not even joking. Scott Bessent also admitted that the tariffs are paid by the consumer, finally admits that they are paid for by American companies. And it's like prying a tooth out of somebody. What's the phrase? It's like prying, you had to pry it from his jaws, basically, to get him to admit that consumers pay the tariffs. Let's start off here. Make sure you drop a like below. And make sure you're subscribed to the Adam Mockler feed. Thank you.
There has been some confusion. So we've got a tariff of, what, 50% on Brazil now, I think. And so if someone here, an importer, wants to buy Brazilian products today or tomorrow and import them, they're going to pay 50% to the Treasury. And so who writes that check?
Well, a couple of things. First, we could have substitutions, so there's very little that only comes from Brazil. It could come from Argentina, it could come from...
right, but assuming it does come from Brazil, say, or it comes from any country with a tariff, who writes the check to the Treasury?
Well, the check is written to the person who receives it at the dock in the U.S.
Mm-hmm. The check is written by the person who receives it at the dock. So the tariff is paid in this country.
It is paid at the border in this country by American companies. This is how it works, by the way. When the good is shipped and it hits the American border, Customs and Border Protection only admits it after the company that imported it pays the check. Scott Bessent was squirming his way around to not answer that, but he finally basically admitted it.
By the importer, is that right?
But the Brazilian exporter could decide that they want to keep market share. They could lower their price.
Oh yeah, they could just eat the cost if they want to eat the cost, sure.
So that the full 50% of the tariff, say, and
they could eat part of the cost. They could eat part of the tariff,
which is what
nobody's going to do that. No country is going to do that unless Trump is extorting them for some reason because of corruption. But either way, let's move on to this clip of Donald Trump in the Oval Office being asked, does your deadline for Putin agreeing to a ceasefire still stand tomorrow? And this dude, the president of the United States, says that's going to be up to him. Very disappointed. So he's deferring to Vladimir Putin on whether or not the deadline ends tomorrow. Remember, the deadline was like, first, day one. He was going to say, I'm going to end this war on day one. Then he gave him 2 weeks. He was like, 2 weeks, Vlad, or else there are consequences. Then, after setting this arbitrary deadline against himself and doing nothing, he then says 90 days. Then he's like 50 days. Then he changed the 50 days to 2 weeks recently, and the 2 weeks ends tomorrow. Just listen to his response. And if all of that sounded confusing, it's because it is. He keeps on moving it over and over. It's convoluted, and Putin knows that he's just rolling Trump.
Mr. President, is your deadline for Vladimir Putin agreeing to a ceasefire still stand tomorrow? Or is that fluid now that talks are...
What?
Is your deadline still standing for Vladimir Putin to agree to a ceasefire tomorrow, or is that fluid now?
It's going to be up to him. We're going to see what he has to say. It's going to be up to him. Very disappointed, yeah.
What do you mean it's going to be up to him? I mean, Trump supporters would say he didn't understand the question and he thought whether the consequences were going to be up to him. But do you guys remember that post Trump made a few months ago where he was like, Vlad, I have stopped all of the consequences from hitting you thus far. Please stop. Basically saying that he has thwarted Russia from seeing any consequences of their actions. Now, he recently did place a tariff on India for buying oil from Russia, which allows them to get weapons. So that's like a small step in the right direction, but it took 6 or 7 months of endless killing for him to make a small step. It's not enough. It's not enough. Let's watch this clip of Donald Trump further being asked about his meeting with Vladimir Putin and whether or not Zelensky would get to be a part of it.
No.
Are you, so you're willing to, that's actually important because President Putin said this morning he was pretty dismissive of this idea of meeting with President
Who was?
Zelensky. President Putin was.
I don't know. I didn't hear
For you
him.
to meet with him, he doesn't have to agree to meet with Zelensky. Is that what you're saying?
No, he doesn't. No.
So when do you think that meeting?
They would like to meet with me, and I'll do whatever I can to stop the killing. So last month, they lost.
You have not done anything. Listen to this. Caitlin Collins asks, if you're meeting with Putin, will you make that conditional on Putin also meeting with Zelensky? Because Putin refuses to man up and face Zelensky. He's dipped multiple times on meetings because he knows he can continue to evade the talks. So Putin evaded. Now, what Trump could do if he actually understood leverage and deal making is say, hey, I'll meet with you, Putin, but only under one condition. You have to meet with Zelensky as well. You have to meet with both of us and we have to talk. But no, Trump has no interest in actually brokering a deal or using any of the leverage at his disposal. And here's an example. When he got into office, Trump and Marco Rubio, they're so dumb that their position was, if Putin doesn't stop this war, this is what they'd say, if Putin doesn't stop this war, we are going to stop funding Ukraine in 2 weeks or whatever the hell. That signals to Putin that all he has to do is continue stretching and pushing and throwing his men into the meat grinder, and eventually Ukraine will lose its biggest ally because we're just tuckered out when we don't have to be, when we could continue to support democracy. So he's signaling to Putin, not that Ukraine has leverage, but that we're all weak and tired. What you would actually do if you wanted to follow peace through strength, which they claim to follow, if you want to be America first and peace through strength, you arm Ukraine to the teeth. You allow Ukraine to fight back. You give them some sort of long-term security guarantees so Putin goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. If we continue fighting this, we may not have a country. You slap sanctions on Russia. You slap secondary sanctions on all the countries that they trade with. But instead, we get the weakest president ever.
To meet with him, he doesn't have to agree to meet with Zelensky. Is that what you're saying?
No, he doesn't. No.
So when do you think that meeting?
They would like to meet with me, and I'll do whatever I can to stop the killing. So last month, they lost 14,000 people killed last month. Every week is 4,000 or 5,000 people. So I don't like long waits. I think it's a shame.
I don't like long waits. I thought he was going to say, I don't like the killing or the massacre or the unjustified invasion. But he says, I don't like long waits. By the way, the only reason Trump wants this war to end is because he wants to be known as the anti-war president. A lot of people in the comment section say that Trump actually wants the war to continue going. I think at the very least, Trump is just apathetic and wants to use this war, end this war, as a vessel for his own glorification. That's all he cares about. Nothing else but his own glorification. If he had it his way, he would probably have a plaque that says the No New Wars president. But Putin is having it his way. Putin is rolling Trump on a day-to-day basis. That's why we get an article that reads, White House now says Trump, quote, open to meeting Putin without his meeting Zelensky. An official earlier said Putin must meet with Ukraine's president as well, but Donald Trump immediately contradicts his own official. So the entire administration is lying to the American people. They're covering everything up. And I guess I want to end this video off by saying they're covering up the Epstein files as well, very clearly covering up the Epstein files. Even beyond the Epstein files, they cover up who pays the tariff. They're covering up the economic destruction by firing the BLS director. They're firing whistleblowers, purging the DOJ. They're covering up crimes and corruption. We will continue to spread the word. So make sure you're subscribed to the Adam Mockler feed below. A lot of people think they are, but they're not. So double check. We're getting close to 1.5 million. And if you live near or in Omaha, Nebraska, comment Omaha if you're free August 23rd to come to the event that we're putting on with Senator Elizabeth Warren and Representative Maxwell Frost. Thank you all. See you in the next one. Peace out.